another episode of the Bulldog Blitz. NHL and NBA playoffs are now in full swing, and we figured we'd break down the remaining 8 series for y'all. I think we'll start with the Nuggets versus Timberwolves, the most recent series that occurred last night. And let me just start by saying it's absolutely absurd that this game started so late. Had the 10:30 time slot, 9:30. Feels terrible for those younger fans in the league that can't stay up to watch those games, because this is just an absolutely marquee matchup. Arguably the most popular matchup of this entire playoff series in the NBA, because you have these incredible stars, Anthony Edwards and Nikola Jokic, who are right now at the top of the NBA right now. Most dominant performances, I think, aside from Jalen Brunson. These are the two guys that are really getting it done in the postseason. So let's talk about the Nuggets. Completely turned the series around, coming back from the dead. They're now leading 3-2 after being down 2-0, losing both games at home at the start of the series. Incredible. Had a 112-97 win. And it's all because of Nikola Jokic, proving he's the best player in the world. 40 points and 13 assists is just absolutely crazy. Michael Porter Jr. right now not doing so well, but he's having those pick-and-roll plays with Jamal Murray. Aaron Gordon is actually stepping up, and the mastermind behind it all besides him is also Michael Malone, who's drawing up these incredible plays.
Yeah, the Joker's just making it so clear that he's the best player in the league. He's making 4-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert look like he's no match for him. He's moving him around, he's faking him out, making him look dumb in some of these plays. Joker's just taking over the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 3-time MVP versus the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, including winning the award this year. And yeah, Gobert is just absolutely no match for the Joker at all. And I'd say the reason Jokic and the Nuggets are winning this series is because of the micro adjustments they're making in the moment throughout. Let's talk about not Game 5, but Game 4, but before this. The reason the Nuggets won that, tying the series 2-2, was because it started with Jokic being guarded by double players, being guarded by Cat instead of Gobert. What happened, though, was that he was able to find his sweet spot in the middle of the paint, and he was able to create, finding other players, find KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jamal Murray. He found these players, and what had happened was the Timberwolves had to adjust. They had to switch. But this was an even worse situation now, because by putting Gobert on Jokic, it really limited Gobert's abilities, because even though people think, oh my gosh, this is a genius move by the Timberwolves to put, the Defensive Player of the Year on the Nuggets' best player, it's actually not good, because Gobert is a better rim protector. He's better at roaming around and kind of just cleaning up loose balls, loose rebounds, instead of guarding one-on-one versus a star player of Jokic's caliber. So what happened was, this was eventually realized that it's not really working out so well for the Timberwolves, and so what they had to do was, later in the game, they switched. They put Cat back on Jokic. What happened, though, was that the Nuggets adapted. They made a micro adjustment, and what they did was, Christian Braun, a great role player for the Nuggets, stepped up, and they did what was called a ram screen. And a ram screen is where he goes in on Cat, and he just absolutely confuses him. He sets a screen for him, puts his body in the way, and because of that, he freed up space for Jamal Murray, who was able to knock down a shot, who was able to pass it down to Christian Braun also, who was also able to knock down a few key threes. And they're just creating all sorts of confusion, and they're creating all sorts of space on the floor. So it's that ability to make those micro adjustments for the Nuggets that are winning them the series so far.
Yeah, and it's clearly correlating offensively for the Timberwolves, too. As they're getting thrown off on defense, it's making it harder for their offense to click. Anthony Edwards, we can talk about it last night, 5 for 15 on the field goal, 1 for 5 on three-point. He only dropped 18 points last night. And he has been what has seemed to be the MVP of these playoffs. Wait, what?
We'll just keep talking.
Oh. Well, he has seemed to be the MVP of these playoffs. He's really taken over for the Timberwolves. He proved in that first series with that sweep that he is that guy. He was being talked about being just like Michael Jordan, even though I disagree, though Michael Jordan's stats were 10 times better than Edwards were. But he was able to take over the first 2 games. But just like you said, these adjustments with the Nuggets, they've been able to come back and turn this whole series around.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is that I'm expecting a monster game from Ant going into this Game 6. I think even if they lose, he's going to come out swinging. He's going to put up a fight.
Yeah.
He's not going to go out on a bad note for sure. And now 18 points, that is pretty abysmal for his standards, going 1 for 5 at the 3-point range. 5 for 15 is not really that good. But that being said, he did drop 44 points in their loss actually in game 4. And so what really it will come down to is, sure, this was a bad performance, but this was more of an irregularity. It's going to come down to the players surrounding him. The big three, Cat calls it, Karl Anthony Towns. He says there's a big three surrounding him, Gobert and Anthony Edwards. Well, he needs to prove that, because in the game before this, although he dropped, I believe it was 23 in this game, he did not play well, him or Gobert. Gobert doing absolutely horrible on defense, like we said, this game, which is where they need him more. And so they need him. Jaden McDaniels also did not play a very good game this game. So they need just these role players to step up, and they need a better supporting cast around Anthony Edwards, in my opinion, if they want to win. And they could, because the series does go back to Minnesota for this next game at the Target Center. However, in my opinion, I think a Nuggets win seems inevitable at this point.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I mean, it kind of just seems like they've almost shut down the Wolves. I mean, if you're not going to get your offensive production from Edwards like you have all of the postseason, that he needs to have a good game tonight, or it's clear that the Nuggets will take this game.
Yeah, and so let's move to the Knicks and Pacers now in the Eastern Conference. That was the other game that occurred last night. Knicks finally got their mojo back. They're leading 3-2 after a dominant win at the Madison Square Garden in Game 5. They squashed the Pacers by 30, 121-91. Coming after a fighting adversity, they got crushed, boat raced in the last game, losing by, I believe, 32 to the Pacers.
Yeah, that was a bad game to watch, but it's great to see how Jalen Brunson bounced back with 44 points. And just like we talked about earlier, him and Ant have been the real standouts, but it's good to see that Brunson can come back and bring another 40-point game, just like we talked about how Anthony Edwards will need tomorrow night in their game. So it was great to see that from Brunson. Yeah,
and I'm very wary, very skeptical of the Knicks as a unit overall, because they almost have no depth. Their coach, Tom Thibodeau, former Bulls coach, he's known for instilling this sort of monster mentality, this dog mentality into the Knicks players. That's kind of winning them these series so far. He's giving Josh Hart, Jonte DiVincenzo, and Jalen Brunson, these guys are playing almost a full game, which is good. But then look at our case study for the last game. They got killed because they all seemed tired. Jalen Brunson especially looked pretty injured. However, he was able to come back after a little bit of rest, I believe, to drop 44 in this game. But what should be said is that I don't know if that's true anymore. I believe even though they do have depth issues, they might be all right, because these players that are being played so frequently,
they're putting up points.
They're putting up the points, Josh Hart with 18 points and 11 rebounds in this game. And then some players that were doing well in this game as well that don't usually start were Alec Burks, Miles McBride, who just got brought into the starting five, as well as Isaiah Hartenstein, who dominated the glass with 12 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, and Burks was just on fire from the three-point line. He had 5 three-pointers, and then Miles McBride stepped up big time, 7 for 15 on shooting in a playoff game where you need your guys off the bench to step up, and he did his job, and that really helped them in that bounce-back win. Yeah, and speaking of that aforementioned monster mentality, what's crazy is that in that starting lineup, 4 out of 5 of those Knicks players, aside from Hartenstein, were below 6'4". It was 6 feet 4 or below, which is unheard of in a modern NBA starting lineup. But do you know what happened? What happened was the Knicks out-rebounded the Pacers 20-5. That's incredible. Yeah, that's an insane stat line. I mean, that's not even a close game when it comes to the glass. And, I mean, it kind of shows, too. Halliburton was a ghost last night. He dropped only 13 points, and he's also been he has obviously been the strong guy for the Pacers. But, I mean, being able to shut down Halliburton goes a long way.
Yeah, he really needs to step into that role of their star player. When he is on fire, he's looking excellent. But in this game, with only 13 points, Obi Toppin, Miles Turner, T.J. McConnell, they need him. And he's not showing up them. Yeah,
but the series does go back to Indianapolis, and the Pacers have yet to lose at home in this postseason, which is a good sign. Hopefully they can, in their hopes, they're hoping to bounce back, push a Game 7, and then get a big win on the road. But we'll see. It all depends on if their offense and their glass can compete.
Yeah, and I'd say a key for the Knicks to win this series would be they have to slow down the Pacers in transition. They're a very fast-playing team.
Yeah.
If they can do that, I think they got this, even though it goes back to Indianapolis. And I think it'll set up for a Celtics-Knicks Eastern Conference final, and we'll get to the Celtics and Cavs in a second.
Yeah, and just like you said, if the Knicks do win, and we just talked about the depth issues. I think it could be a massive problem moving forward. I mean, if you're going to take them into another long series, there's only so much they can do against a strong Celtics team that's up 3-1 right now.
Yeah, that's another good point. The more this series is dragging on, the worse that is for the Knicks players off of limited rest. So
yeah, and all they could really do at this point is hope to win that game tomorrow and hope that the Cavs extend this series, giving them more time to get rest and get back into their groove and practice.
Agreed. So let's move on to the other game in the Western Conference, the Thunder versus the Mavs.
Yeah.
The series is now tied 2-2. Game 5 is tonight. The Thunder finally getting one back from the Mavs, winning 196 in a rather close one. And I think it was a really close call when it really shouldn't have been for the Thunder on this night, for a variety of reasons. One being Luka and Kyrie were horrible.
Yeah, they were awful. And when you got guys like that playing awful, but you also have Shai playing great, this game can't be that close. Shai was a really close MVP finalist. He almost won it, in Shaq's words. He said to Jokic that he didn't believe that Jokic deserved it, that Shai deserved it. But, I mean, when you have your MVP stepping up, you need your role players to also jump in there. I mean, only winning by 4 in a game where the two best players on the Mavs step off, you have to produce more points. Yeah,
I mean, Chet's looking great, but they need to ask more from J-Dub, Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
Not great there. But, yeah, I mean, just a vintage Shai performance overall.
Yeah.
Set a record for mid-range, actually scored the most amount of mid-range points than any other player in the past 2 seasons, postseason, and regular season.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, 34 points goes a long way in a 4-point win, especially, like we talked about, when those two, Kyrie and Luka, only combined for 27 points.
Yeah, Shai outscored them both combined. And I think what really hurt them the most was the free throw percentages.
Yeah.
Dallas going 12 for 23, 52%. Meanwhile, you got OKC draining almost everything, going 23 for 24.
Yeah. But then we talk about the Mavs again, how Luka and Kyrie took the night off. A guy that didn't take the night off was P.J. Washington. He stepped up. He dropped 21 points, but he did play 41 minutes of that game.
Yeah, he had some vital threes. Daniel Gafford, however, he's the center for the Mavs. He needs to step up more. I'm expecting more from Derrick Jones Jr. as well. He's playing a similar role to Obi Toppin in the Pacers series. But, yeah, overall, I think the Thunder can win this, but I actually do favor the Mavs because the way their team is built, I believe, once again, this Luka and Kyrie performance was an abnormality. This usually doesn't happen, with Kyrie only dropping 9 points. Did great assisting the ball, but he needs to score some. He needs to take some pressure off Luka's back, who's being guarded by Lou Dort, one of the best defenders in the NBA.
Yeah, I agree. The series does go back to OKC, which will really help the Thunder get that home crowd momentum. But if they can't take this game, or they can't afford to lose this game, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
Because if they do, it gives the Mavs more momentum going back to their home court. And I think if they lose tonight, they lose Thursday or Friday night.
Yeah, in my opinion, this is the tightest series of them all. I think Celtics and Cavs, Celtics are going to easily win that one. Knicks and Pacers a little bit tighter, but I got Knicks. Same with Nuggets and T-Wolves, I got Nuggets, but I think this one could really go either way. I think if Luka and Kyrie just play like normal, I think the Mavs can win this series, especially considering the moves they made at the free agent deadline, because they really transformed their team into a defensive unit. Before, it was more offensive, so now they got the defensive base. If Luka and Kyrie can do well on offense, they'll do well.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. If Luka and Kyrie don't continue, or if they continue what they're doing and really back off, I think the Thunder, that's the best case scenario for the Thunder, obviously. Which, obviously, they still have to allow themselves to widen that gap of a 4-point game. But, I mean, otherwise, I agree with you. I think the Mavs will take this if Luka and Kyrie can just play an average game for themselves.
Yeah. And then let's wrap it up with Celtics and Cavs in the NBA. Boston leading 3-1. I'd say just call the series now. However, it was a little bit, some alarm bells were being set off for Boston fans in this game. Because although they did win 109-102, much closer than it should have been, considering Donovan Mitchell and Jarrett Allen, Cavs' 2 top scorers, were both out.
Yeah. And I was looking into it tonight. It's not looking like Spider will come back. It's not looking like Mitchell will be back. Jarrett Allen is still questionable, though. I mean, that's a big name to get. Those are 2 big names you want in your lineup. I mean, to even get one back is a big help.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to be out Donovan Mitchell is just a big downgrade. There's not much you could do without him.
I mean, Mitchell was the reason they won that one game. I mean, he's a good enough player where he can maybe steal a game from a team like the Celtics, but with him out, I really see no hope here. Karis LeVert, He had 19 points. Garland with 30 points in the most recent game. LeVert also was questionable, I saw. So if he's out, that'll just be even more damage being done to Cavaliers. And I think they'll really only have Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, which is really not enough. And Max Strus, who actually did play really well in this most recent game.
Yeah. Strus did play very well. But like we were talking about earlier, what the Knicks are hoping for, the Knicks, they're hoping for this Cavs team to take a game. And that's what they need. And they need the Celtics players to be really as out of shape as they can, as worn out as they can. But in a game without Jared Allen or Donovan Mitchell, I mean, we could even see these starters for the Celtics resting halfway through.
Yeah, especially this game is at TD Garden. This game is in Boston. I mean, it's going to be green everywhere. It'll be a blowout, in my opinion, with Spida and everyone out. I really see no hope here, especially, let's talk about Jason Tatum a little bit as well. He's been stepping up in these last games.
Yeah.
2 back-to-back 33-point games, which has been extremely beneficial for the Celtics, considering he's been putting up tour dates in the last game against the Heat, so he's finally settling into that star player role.
Yeah, and I mean, they're doing all this without Porzingis. Porzingis will be a big availability if he can make his return for the future last 2 series if they do advance to the finals. And that could just make this team even more dangerous. I mean, they've proven to be such a dangerous team. Although, we talked about Mitchell, he shut them down for a game. But, I mean, otherwise, they've just been really great. They've been a great team. Yeah,
huge question mark surrounding Porzingis. Very cryptic tweet from Woj talking about his availability. He said he would be out a minimum of several weeks, so that's not really a very good timetable there.
No, it's not.
But they've had Luke Cornett and Al Horford kind of taking the place of Kristaps Porzingis, just switching the two out. But, I mean, think about this. If the Celtics steamroll the Cavs and then eventually just get past the Knicks, they'll have to play most likely probably the Nuggets, in my opinion. Who's going to guard Jokic? Al Horford? No way.
No.
Porzingis, even though I still think that'd be a crazy mismatch with Jokic versus Porzingis, at least it's something. And so I think that's why they really need him to stay healthy. I'd say don't play him at all, even if he is healthy for this game. And maybe even rest him a couple games for the Knicks. You got to get him to absolute complete health going into that final game.
Because when it comes to that NBA Finals, if they are in hopes of making the finals, obviously sitting Porzingis will be the best idea for them, as he could stay healthy for this major final against Jokic, the MVP, who's proven to be the MVP. He's just been the most dominant player in the paint, just around the hoop. You can't stop him with anyone else but Porzingis, what it seems like on that Celtics team. Yeah,
so give me the Celtics versus the Nuggets in the finals.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take the Celtics to end, so the Nuggets do not go back-to-back, but I will take the Celtics in this one. I believe they're the heavy favorites right now to win the title, so I'll stick with that.
I also love the Celtics. I mean, there's always been something about the Celtics that have stuck out to me. I do have a Jason Tatum jersey. Big fan of him. Love his game style. But I also have them winning. I'll have them, I'll make my call. I got a 4-2 series, Celtics.
We wear polos on this podcast. We would love to have Jason Tatum come in and maybe show us how to tie a tie.
Yeah,
so we can dress a little more formal for the podcast.
Yeah, fresh out of prom. I mean, thank you for that video, Jason. It helped me out big time.
And part 2 came out recently, so that was great to see as well. So now let's head to the NHL.
Yeah, big time matchups in the NHL. These have all really proven to be great matchups, maybe all but one. First, we'll start off with the Hurricanes versus the Rangers. Rangers went up 3-0. They went 7 straight to start their playoffs, which is an insane run for the Rangers. I mean, they were the President's Trophy winners, best team in the NHL, and they really proved it until the Canes have stepped it up big time. The Canes have won the past 2, and they're really hoping to be the 5th team in NHL history to pull the reverse sweep.
Yeah, I got to ask you, who do you think is going to win Panthers-Bruins? Because, I mean, this is great for either team in that series, considering they're not giving any rest to the Rangers. Canes are taking some back, and they're avoiding that sweep.
Yeah. I mean, Panthers-Bruins, this could either go any way. I mean, when you look at it, the Bruins have played this playoffs so physically that it's kind of shown that in those first 4 games of the series, they've been drained. And then now having a big injury with Brad Marchand being ruled out after a little punch to the face, no one saw it. They called it upper body injury, maybe collarbone, something like that. He led the team with 10 points. He was a big guy for the Bruins in these playoffs. He's the leader of that team. He's their captain. He is like their veteran that they lean on. And with guys like Pastrnak not really producing as well as he has, being the goal scorer he's showed everyone he can be, I think the Panthers will take this.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on that Brad Marchand hit. Very elusive hit, by the way.
Yeah.
All the cameras around the stadium didn't even catch it. Not until the after post-game review where they determined that was actually a dirty hit. So, although that was a very dirty hit, credit to that Panthers player for making sure that no one caught him.
Yeah, I mean, real smooth with it. I'm blanking on the name, but, honestly, if we look at it either way, Marchand's doing the same thing the other way. The rat got caught up high. It cost himself 2 games, and we'll see if he can make a return for, I think it's a Friday night game now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, especially as well in the NHL, I mean, goaltending is going to be a big factor.
Yeah.
And the Panthers have a stud in Bobrovsky.
Yeah, Bobrovsky has just been a wall. I mean, you look at the game. I was watching the game a little bit yesterday. He did all he could to keep his team alive. And although the Panthers really couldn't show any offensive spurts until that third period, I mean, Bobrovsky stood on his head, but it also goes to Jeremy Swayman, the Bruins goaltender. He has just been phenomenal. A .933 save percentage, best in the postseason so far. It's just been a neck-and-neck goalie series between Bobrovsky and Swayman. Yeah,
there's a crazy stat how Swayman was, I think, for 7 games in a row in the postseason, he was making sure he was limiting the other team from scoring 2 goals or more.
Yeah.
So it was always either they're conceding 2 goals or less the whole first of the 7 games until the Panthers went off recently and won. I believe it was like 6-1 or something, or 6-2.
Yeah, and he actually ended up getting pulled in that game after, I think it was the 4th goal. I thought it was a questionable pull, but they got to do what they got to do. Got to give the man rest. Maybe they knew game was over, but yeah, Swayman, he's just shown to be comfortable in that net. Mm-hmm. Something that you don't see goalies do during the playoffs is like even go out in between breaks, go out, talk to their teammates. They try to stay as focused, as locked in as they can. But this guy last night was going around, skating around the ice, between whistles, saying what's up to his kid, saying what's up to his wife. Like, he's comfortable in that net, and that's what you need from a goalie that you are depending on to carry through a series.
Yeah, I think he's just carrying on that lineage of dominance in Bruins goaltenders.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best since Tuukka Rask, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, they did produce the Vezina winner, best goaltender of the year, last year, Linus Ullmark, but he really took the step down, and Swayman stepped right in perfectly. But I really think, just like you said, he's having one of the better seasons since Tuukka Rask.
Yeah, and so, I mean, if the Panthers win that, it'll be Bobrovsky versus most likely Shesterkin, considering the Rangers win.
Yeah, I think this run by the Hurricanes is great. I don't think that they will really complete the run, though. I think the Rangers will win this. It's just their roster is just crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Fox, Zibanejad, and the bread man himself, Panarin.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And when you look at that, those 3 guys you named aren't even leading the team in points. Vincent Trocheck, he's a veteran in the NHL. He's dropped 12 points in these playoffs.
Wow.
He's a guy that's just really stood out. And when you can get outliers like him to provide in playoffs and let your all-stars like Panarin, Zibanejad, Fox, and not even be the ones that are producing the most, it goes a long way, and it has showed.
It does. I think we should move on to the Canadiens now. Canucks versus Oilers.
Yeah. This is really I think it's the best series that we have. I mean, the 2 Canadian teams, obviously whoever wins, they are the only Canadian team left in the playoffs. So Canada's rooting for, some good luck here, the better team to actually pull out a win. It's been 31 years since Canada's taken home a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, last time was the Montreal in 1993. Yeah. So I'm pulling for them because I know that if they do make it to a Stanley Cup, I mean, it would just be great for Canada, and I think it'd be great for the NHL as a whole. Yeah, and I think that these are the 2 teams that they want to be the final teams left. The Oilers having guys like McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman having his career year, 14 years into his career. Yeah.
Maybe 10 or something, but he's having a career year, dropped 50 goals, and he's just really continued that. He has 9 goals in these playoffs in 10 games. That's something almost unheard of in recent history. But then you have guys like Draisaitl, who's providing 8 goals, 12 assists. He can do it all. McDavid, McJesus, some would say. He's got 18 points in these 10 games. It's just this Oilers team looks to be unstoppable. But then you have the Canucks on the other hand. And they are the perfect match for the Oilers. Yeah, I mean, it's a much more, from a fan's perspective, the Oilers are a much more exciting team with those superstars in Draisaitl and McDavid.
But, I mean, the Canucks have been putting up a battle that no one thought they would have been putting up. They had their all-star goalie go down earlier.
Yeah.
I believe it was in the first series.
Yeah, Thatcher Demko.
Yeah. And then, but they had Nikita Zadorov leading and Suter. I mean, they're putting up a valiant effort. However, they did lose most recently 3-2.
Yeah, that was a good game. I mean, the fact that these Canucks goaltenders can step up and only hold this offensive power load of an Oilers team is great. And we saw last night, the Oilers have been dealing with goalie issues. They pulled Skinner in Game 4 of the series, which led to Game 3, which led to a win by the Canucks. And then they started Pickard last night. Calvin Pickard made his first career playoff start and stood on his head.
Wow.
It's shown that this playoffs has been really carried and dependent by these goaltenders, showing what they can do under the big lights.
Yeah. Who do you got winning this?
I could really see this go either way, but my heart tells me the Canucks. I've always had something for the Canucks. I mean, even though the Hawks were the ones that ruined their legendary run in 2010, and then they ruined our back-to-back run in 2011. I just think the Canucks, if they move on from now, I think they have the best chance of winning a good series in the finals with their number one goaltender.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams have had the easiest path so far. I mean, other teams like the Stars have had to play the reigning champions like the Golden Knights. So, I mean, this is the best possible opportunity for these Canadian teams to make it far. But speaking on the Stars, let's move to Dallas versus Colorado. Dallas is up 3-1, and I think while we do want to see a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup, it'll be very hard to get past the Dallas Stars, in my opinion.
Yeah, without a doubt. This Dallas team is as strong as ever, and with the age of their players that are producing for them, I mean, it's almost unheard of. Wyatt Johnston just became the eighth player in NHL history to record 10 playoff games before turning 21 years old.
Wow.
And fun fact about the game where he did score his 10th goal was, again, like you talked about, the NBA, the Nuggets got that late night game. This game carried over to midnight. Wyatt Johnston scored around 11 o'clock. An hour later, turns 21. And so he just snuck in to break that record, which is a great sight.
I mean, Colorado's falling apart. You have Valeri Nichushkin failing his drug test. He's out for 6 months in a recovery program, and on top of that, no pay. So he was league leading, tied with 9 goals and 1 assist. So incredible missing out for the Avalanche there not to have him in this series.
Yeah, and I just saw a stat line on this, the Stars versus Avalanche series. The Avalanche, their top 3 guys. They got McKinnon, they've got Makar, and they've got Rantanen.
Great balance.
Yeah, those are great balance, but the Stars team has shut them down. Combined, I think they've caused for 4 or 5 goals this entire series.
Yeah.
And if Dallas can do that in a big game like they have tonight, I think Dallas will take the series.
Yeah, I mean, and credit to Dallas, too. They have such a young core with Johnston and also Heiskanen. And Jason Robertson, all drafted recently. Credit to the Dallas scouting team.
I mean, incredible scouting team. And the balance between these guys are just even better with veterans like Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin. Mm-hmm. They are these longevity guys that the Dallas Stars have had that are really, truly, and clearly influencing these youngsters to just do what they can.
With that being said, I'm going to take the Stars in this series, finishing off the Avalanche either in the next game or in this game coming up. And then I'm going to take them beating the Canucks, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I'll have the Stars playing the Rangers in my Stanley Cup final with, I believe, the Rangers will win it all.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely think the Stars will take this series. I think the Rangers will take the Canes. And I think the Stars will top the Canucks, sadly, ending Canada's historic run, almost historic run. And I think Dallas will get their first cup.
All right.
I think they will.
Some differing opinions, yeah. So, with that being said, I think that will wrap things up. Just to touch on the NFL quickly, the schedule releases later today at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Some great games already mentioned with the Chiefs and Ravens starting off the season. Got a game in Brazil, first time that's ever been done.
Yeah.
Eagles versus Packers. And you got the Bears playing in London as well.
Yeah, we got the Jaguars out in London. I think that's more of a mid-season game for us, or maybe I think it's either week 2 or it's a mid-season game. Mm-hmm. But that should be a great game.
But yeah, just a lot to be excited about with the NFL there. Bears finally got their 2 corner pieces in the draft with Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. should be a very exciting season that we'll be sure to cover more of in the fall.
Yeah, and let's hope we have a record-breaking season and have a successful rookie quarterback.
Yes. All right. That will do it from here, and carry on.